All right, we are up and running. We are live. You guys might have noticed the last couple of weeks, no countdown anymore. And I don't know what's going on with that. Facebook keeps getting me, I get in trouble on Facebook with a copyright um, something or other. It's not, they're not calling it an infringement, but people are claiming that music. And then sometimes I get notified that my video is not available to watch in the US because the music that's on that countdown that I have permission to use because it's built into StreamYard, of which I actually use the paid version. So anyway, it's a mess, but I think we're going to forego the countdown until I can at least make my own video to put up here. So that's what we have for now. Anyway, welcome everybody. It is Thursday. It's 8 o'clock. It's time for another great episode of the best show that nobody's watching, the Get Off My Lawn podcast. So glad to have you along. And you're in for maybe a fun ride tonight. I don't know what's going to happen. We may hurt some feelers, step on some toes, and there may be some people get butt hurt. So sit back and I guess buckle up, and we'll see what happens tonight. Real quick here, let's go through a couple announcements. Let's say hi to everybody first. Let's bring everybody in. So we'll get these guys back on the screen with us and say hi to everybody. And we may have one or two more joining us as we go along here. But real quick, while I know that he's got a second to say hi, we'll say hey to Mr. Squiblift, who had a terrible torpedo accident there.
Yeah, I'm just here so that you can say you've got somebody on the panel who's not from Nebraska.
Right, representing non-Nebraskans, representing. I got you. It's good to affirmative action. That's why Squib is here. So glad to have you along.
I've made the quota.
Our token non-Cornhusker state person here. So
it's good to invite a Canadian once in a while, you know.
Wow, man, wow.
Michigan, it's up there. It's up there north of the U.S.,
hey,
right? Michigan.
Where are you from? You from Michigan, eh?
No.
Yeah, you know.
I'm from North Carolina.
You're not from Michigan. That's just where you live now.
That's just where I live.
That's just where you hibernate.
I know. He's not from the UP. He's from the SP or the LP. I guess it'd be the LP, wouldn't it? The Lower Peninsula.
Yeah. What's the CSP?
Well, I was going to say Southern Peninsula, but
British Columbia. I thought
the opposite of upper is lower. So you're not a Youper. You're a looper. We're gonna
no. I'm a troll. I'm under the bridge.
Good enough.
The Youpers call people from the Lower Peninsula trolls because they live under the bridge.
You live under the bridge?
Under the bridge.
Yeah. Good to know.
It's so easy to lay siege to that part of the state.
I thought that was the Red Hot Chili Peppers, but what do I know? All right, so moving right along, let's say hello to one of Lincoln's two most eligible bachelors, the tactical teacher, everybody's favorite maestro. Is that the right word?
Yeah, it's good.
Good enough word. Anyway,
yeah, man.
Travis P11 in the house. What's up?
Dude, not much, man. I appreciate the invite this evening. I think it's going to be a fun topic because a lot of times we get into arguments and sometimes we don't have enough of our knowledge firepower to get our way out. We kind of dig ourselves in a hole. So, yeah, this is going to be a good topic, I think, for discussion. Choose your battles, baby.
If I can open up a can of worms here, or at the very least, maybe just, drop a grenade in the room and then maybe I'll just leave and let you guys duke it out. No, I won't do that. But I am going to maybe offend a few people, and that's okay. It doesn't hurt your butt to get a little butt hurt every now and then, those of you out there listening and watching. So, and I am going to it's going to kind of seem like almost an about face from what I normally say. So we'll see what happens here. But I think I can make my point in such a way that you can see where I'm coming from, what I'm actually talking about here. But before we go on, let's say hello to Mr. I live deep underground in an undisclosed location, which could be, honestly, at this point, have you tunneled halfway to Greenland or where? I don't even know where the bunker is anymore. So deep underground, that's all we know, near the Earth's core where it's still warm. Just outside in the suburbs of the city of Zion is Pat in a bunker.
Yep, and it's all still classified.
Right? Well, that's okay. We don't want to declassify. Those of you that have not seen The Matrix have no idea what I was just talking about. So, but if you haven't seen The Matrix, you might also be kind of a loser. And in which case, I really don't care if you don't know what I'm talking about. So those of you that don't want to be losers, if you haven't seen The Matrix, go watch it. All right, good enough. Let's check out here real quick and make sure that I'm not missing anything in the No private chat comments. Okay, nobody's waiting on me there. So let's say a couple announcements here real quick. Of course, we'll put that up on the little ticker below. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast belong to the individual expressing them, do not reflect the views of any of our sponsors. We're not offering any legal advice, no medical advice. We're not doctors. We're not lawyers. We're not law enforcement officers. Most of us, I think, have stayed at Holiday Inn Express at some point in our lives. So we're not, we're smart, but we don't have the degree qualified to give such advice. So anyway, that's what's going on there. If you're out there watching, please drop those comments. I see some of you out there already doing that tonight. So keep those comments going, because this could get lively, and I want to hear from you out there too. If you like what I said or didn't like what I'm about to say, speak freely, keep it clean out there, please. We do have some kids that occasionally go back through and watch these. So please keep it classy out there in the chat. But other than that, speak your mind. So also, if you want to catch us after the fact, you can sure leave a comment on the video. Whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, doesn't matter. You can comment after the fact. You can comment while we're live. You can reach out and email us at nesandhillsmedia, NE, letter N, letter E, November Echo, sandhillsmedia@gmail.com. If you forget what I said or don't know what that means, NE is for Nebraska. So not New England, Nebraska. We don't have an upper or a troll section here. We just have, well, nobody knows. People fly over this place, and that's all they know about Nebraska is that it's somewhere. They're not sure where, and that's okay. We like it that way. Please don't all flock here. We like to keep this place a secret as long as we can. Whatever you do, do not California my Nebraska. That's all I'm asking. If you do come visit, great place to visit. Please don't stay. It's not for everyone. It only gets to 200 degrees below zero in the summertime, and in the wintertime, it's craziness. There's 18 feet of snow to shovel off your doorstep every other hour. Don't come here.
It's not for the weak.
It is not for the faint of heart, that's for sure. Also, again, we are happy to be part of the Self-Defense Radio Network. So go check out this show and a lot of great Second Amendment and freedom-related podcasts over there at sdrn.us, Sierra Delta Romeo November .uniform Sierra. Go check them out. But wait till this one's over. Please don't leave us. Go check those out when the time comes. Not right now. All right. And then, you know what? Before we go too deep, last but certainly not least, tonight's show is brought to you on multiple platforms at once by our sponsor, which is ourselves. So Sandhills Defense LLC, the company that we just started up here in Northeast Nebraska for firearms training. We specialize in bringing new shooters into the fold, somebody who's never touched a handgun before. If you want to learn about it, how to shoot it, how to take it apart, all that good stuff. We will show you all the ins and the outs, and we'll get you to where you're having a lot of fun. If you're terrified of guns, but you want to face that fear, we are here for you to help you get through that. If you have been shooting a long time and you just want to know how to get a little bit better, or how to sharpen a few skills, or you just want some you've never had formal training, then check us out, because we've got something for all skill levels. And what's crazy is, a state like this, you still have to get a permit in order to carry your concealed handgun, which we all think that's BS, but it is what it is. So here's the thing is, most people in Nebraska, when they take that class for their concealed handgun permit, that's the only formal training they'll ever get in their whole lives, which is kind of scary. You should actually go out and not only train on your own, but every now and then some directed training does a body good. So if it's not Sandhills Defense LLC, that's cool. Go find a trainer. But if you're in the Northeast Nebraska area, then come check us out. Otherwise, you know what? Have class will travel. So you put enough people together for a class, we'll work out a time and settle up the logistics. We'll figure it out. Let me know. SoundhillsDefense.com, or call 402-851-0726. You can also send a text message. All right, let's get that off the screen. Let's get having some fun here. Real quick. Just want to say hello to the people out there in the comments. Kingpin Blitz, DJ Play Nice, Travis P11, Sandhill Sweethearts over there in the producer's chair, but she's also holding it down in the chat. And then who else we have? Agorizer. I think that might be it. Mike is in the house. All right, get those comments in there, y'all. Let us know you're out there because we want to hear from you. So tonight, I titled this "Choosing Your Battles," and I don't know if that's really the right title or not, but I couldn't think of anything any better than that anyway. So that's what I went with for the name of the episode. But you've heard me say time and time and time again, you're probably tired of hearing me say, I wish we could figure out a way to get people into the battle. And I don't mean an actual physical battle. I mean the battle where we're just trying to convince more people that firearms are things, they're tools. They're not inherently good or evil. They just they do whatever their operator makes them do, and that's it. And of course, we could talk to her blue in the face to some people, and they'll never understand what we're saying. And of course, other people never thought of it any other way than that. But with more and more people all the time buying firearms, especially after the last couple summers of love that we had the last couple years, this one's been knock on wood so far pretty decent. But we had the mostly peaceful protests with the fires and the riots and the looting and the murders and all that 2020, and then some again in 2021. So hopefully the country's outgrowing that now, but we're only one bad police shooting away from that flaring back up at any given moment. So more and more people all the time have decided that they want to start buying firearms and get that gun for their protection or what have you. The thing is, that doesn't just mean that people, all of a sudden I bought a firearm, I'm instantly convinced that everybody should have any firearm they want, right? That means that there are a lot more people now who are in that camp of, well, I'm a firearm owner, but I support the Second Amendment, but, right? The 2A butters, those people. We've always kind of said those were not the best people to have around. If you say I'm for the Second Amendment, but you're not for the Second Amendment, right? And we hear that a lot. And now there's going to be even more people out there saying, well, I'm a firearm owner myself, but nobody should own a weapon of war or something like, whatever, fill in the blank of whatever they want to say there. So what I want to talk about a little bit, and you guys, like I said, you're free to disagree, agree, whatever you want to do, but I just kind of want it to be a discussion so that people out there listening have a couple different opinions to hear tonight. But I want to say, because people want to know, okay, so my neighbor, guy that I work with, somebody across town, whatever, just bought their first gun. And this is somebody who thought Barack Obama was the best president ever and was a never Trumper and had the F Trump flag flying or whatever. And then Biden came along and they're riding with Biden and the person, the type I'm talking about. They bought a gun because they understood that the police response time where they live isn't, even if it's fast, then it's still going to be too late to prevent a crime. All they get to do is come by and, if you're lucky, be there before it's over. Otherwise, just gather the evidence, help pick up the pieces. And so that person is now a gun owner. How do you go talk to that person and convince them to stop voting for Joe Biden and start voting for the candidates who actually believe that you have a right to keep and bear arms, whatever arm you want, for whatever purpose you want, up to and including military grade firearms, because one of the reasons why we have that right is just in case the government grows too big for its britches, we need the ability to defend ourselves against government tyranny, right? We all agree with that, I think. But, Mr. New Gun owner down the road there has never seen it that way. Now that he's got a gun, guess what? He still doesn't see it that way. He's okay with him having a gun, but he doesn't think that you should have anything you want. He's okay with you having what he thinks you should have. And that's the way he's always going to think. So there are certain special people that can sit down and have a conversation with that guy. Some people, and here's where I'm talking about choosing your battles. If you are the type of person who cannot sit down and have a civil conversation with somebody who vehemently opposes your right to own an AR-15, because I know a lot of people out there in the world cannot have that civil conversation with an anti-AR-15 type of person. If that's you, maybe we should have a conversation like this one more often about don't have that conversation. You're not the one. You're not the one that needs to be having the conversation. You shouldn't be the one talking to them, because you're not going to change their mind for sure if you go at them. Now, down the road, after many, many conversations of at least presenting a thoughtful viewpoint and a fact-based viewpoint, maybe he won't change his mind, but he'll at least understand where you're coming from. And if you can have those diplomatic conversations, then do so. But I know this kind of sounds like I'm doing an about face here, but I want to talk about tonight how the 2A conversation isn't for everybody. All of you out there who are pro 2A, all of you out there who have the cool bumper stickers, if you love to shout, shall not be infringed, cold dead hands, come and take them, things like that. Cool, that has a time and a place. But if that's the only thing you have to say and you don't know how to deal with somebody besides trying to convince them with t-shirt slogans, I'm going to say that you shouldn't be in the conversation. There are a lot of things that you can do to help the cause, but talking is not going to be one of them. So there's the grenade dropped in the room. What do you guys think?
Just kidding. So here's the thing, man. The problem is that a lot of the people that that get their firearms that are not vehemently pro 2A or outwardly 2A, it's because they didn't disagree with the process or the regulations they had to follow to get the firearm. They seem to be okay with it. They got theirs. They went through the process. It was not a big deal in their opinion. So when you try to speak of infringement or restrictions, like, they just don't see that. That's part of the problem, is they think that that's how it should be, And so it really is hard to argue with somebody that is just okay with the status quo or okay with the process as is and doesn't see a reason why, anything should be any different. So that and I've got friends and family, unfortunately, that are that way. You try to talk to them and, you get into the, well, nobody needs an AR-15 argument. It's like, you try to tell them, well, it's, the law says I can, the rules say I can. So, I don't know. It's a really difficult argument. And sometimes I just don't even want I don't even want to deal with it. So I do tend to walk away sometimes from stuff like that, because it's where do you even begin? That's the hard part, because they're so ingrained and with how things are right now, they don't realize that they could be losing their rights in the future, or that we've already lost rights in the past. So,
well,
I don't know, John,
that's kind of what I want to get to. Is your comment there. I know you were asking rhetorically, but where do you even begin? Well, that's what I want to talk about, because there are, I'm going to say, the vast majority of people in our camp are where you are. Where do you even begin? What can you do besides throw up your hands and walk away from that person? There are a select few who have the knowledge, the skills, the tact, and the desire to actually sit down and try to engage that person into a conversation. And when I say the skills, the knowledge, the tact, I'm not just talking about not falling into any pitfalls, not just screaming in their face, shall not be infringed, or, whatever, again, t-shirt or bumper sticker slogan. What I'm talking about is, that's the type of person that typically they're not going to agree to sit down with you and have a genuine, honest, objective conversation, right? Most of them are expecting you to try to trap them, do some sort of gotcha thing, right? They don't want to sit down and talk to you. At best, at worst, they think you're an evil, child murderer. You're complicit in child murders because you won't cut your rifle in half with a chop saw. And so, yeah, again, where do you start with those people? There are a few out there who really could have that conversation, but if that's not you, don't have it. Learn when to just shut up. If you throw your hands up, walk away, whatever you got to do. But I mean, I don't know. Sometimes even in the discussion, a good run sometimes is still better than a bad fight. Let them think they won.
Yeah.
Let them think that they shut you down. Whatever, right? But there are going to be times, and there's going to be more people now than ever who own guns and still will vote, and some even are activists and advocates still for you to lose your right to own what you own already in your gun safe.
Patriot in the Dark makes a pretty good point. I was thinking, if you are going to have conversations with anybody who's an anti, say it's a friend or a family member, and they've got their gun and they're talking about it, or, ask them about their gun and say, oh, so, what did you have to go through to get it? Oh, it's got a 17 round mag, So, there's been some talk about limiting that number, or maybe making people, turn those guns in if they've got magazines that have, that come out of the gun. You maybe start to point out how there's some little infringements looming. And I've also found that trying to argue statistics with people, it just doesn't work, because they'll pull off whatever they hear off of NPR that morning and throw it back at you, or they'll point at the TV that has the latest, shooting and say, look what he did. Well, I mean, the kid broke the law to do what he did. So,
Right.
That's, they're not looking at that point. They're just automatically demonizing the rifle,
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Some good
It's like a
comments coming
brainwash,
out
John.
there. Blitz says the hard thing to change, even with exposure and some real experience, is, okay, I get it, but I only want people like you to be able to own them. Okay, which, I mean, again, we could come up with some great responses to any comment that, any what if you guys want to put out there in the chat, but that's not what we're doing tonight. Okay, maybe I should go back through and note these, and we can in a future episode actually come back with some real honest to goodness, I don't even want to say rebuttals, just answers to a comment like that. But that's just it, is that I mean, I do too. I only want people like me to be able to own these things. And by people like me, I mean, responsibly armed, law-abiding citizens, not criminals. The problem is, some people want to disagree with me on what a criminal is, right? But anyway, I don't think you should be criminalized because you all of a sudden you own something today that you weren't a criminal for owning it yesterday. So that's a little different. Clovertack says you have to walk FUDs through it. That is where you begin. But you also have to speak their language, and those who talk down to them do not speak their language, and that's very true as well. And then Gunpowder's out there. Hey, Jesse. She's been reading Fight Like a Mother, which I don't know what that is. If anybody wants to enlighten me, feel free. The gun grabbing mentality has really been testing her patience, which is sad because a throat punch won't solve that problem. But she's been able to understand some moves from Mom's Demand. She doesn't agree with them, but she gets it, and that's. I wish everybody on their side would look at us with that same lens, right? I don't agree with what you're doing, but I totally understand where you're coming from, because that's the problem. We do that all the time. That's become second nature for just about everybody I know that's in our camp. Is I get where they're coming from. I don't agree with them. We both want to get to the same point. We both want to get from point A to point D, right? And point D being people are don't have to worry about getting shot when they go to the shopping mall or into school or whatever, right? We want that. But we don't agree on B and C, right? They want to do it one way, we want to do it a different way. We don't believe that their route gets us to where we really want to end up. They don't believe that our route gets them to where they want to end up. And 90% of those people that you're going to talk to don't have an agenda other than they just want everybody to be safe. Their worldview may be slightly skewed if they think that there's a chance that everybody can be safe, but at the end of the day, they're not actually nefariously hoping to disarm the population so that the government can have its way with the populace or what have you. Of course, there are some that we know. You can call me a conspiracy theorist all you want, but there are people out there that 100% want that to happen because of that reason. All right, so Yeah, we've said both of these here before. Clover says, Travis, 100%. Their feelings don't care about facts. Facts don't care about feelings. We got to get away from that way of communication, and that's absolutely true. So yeah, I mean, I think we're remiss if we don't talk a little bit about the conversation that we need to have. But again, remember that everything that we're going to talk about tonight, as far as being part of this conversation, you've got to decide whether or not you can do it. And if you're going to talk to somebody who is vehemently anti your rights and your abilities to own the tool that you choose to own, you've got to decide, can you have a conversation with that person? That person who believes that you would rather see their child laying dead in a pool of blood than give up, your toy or your whatever it is. To them it's an evil piece of death dealing hardware. Why would you not want to give that up if it makes my kids safer, or your kids safer, or all kids safer? Because that's what they believe, right? So that's a hard person to have a conversation with when you get blindsided by that. I don't want anybody's kid to die. I don't want anybody to die. I don't. If I had my way, nobody would ever get shot again, right? I don't think there's anybody on not only here on the panel but out there in the chat that would disagree. If we could make it happen the right way, we'd be down with it, right? But me giving up my rifle, that's not going to make that happen. So we got to come up with a better way, right? Okay, so Gunpowder says that's the book written by the Mom's Demand creator. Is that Shannon? Is that Shannon Watts? I think. Did she create it? She's kind of the face of it now anyway. We got kind of a good conversation going on out there in the chat. Let's keep this going here. Hey, Jeff's out there. What's up, Jeff? We see you there on Facebook. Big old St. Ed, Nebraska, big thriving metropolis. Agorizer doesn't think he'll ever be able to communicate without the facts, which I don't think that Clover, I don't think that's what you had meant. No, let's wait on that one. There it is. So I had to address the feelings, the emotions first, then get into logic and facts. Yeah, and that's kind of what I thought. Clover's not talking about not bringing the facts to the table. Just don't lead with them, or don't just drop the facts out and then drop the mic and walk away, because you're not going to do any good there. So, and then I think this is exactly what this is about right here. This whole episode. That just means you have your place. It's not an outreach. There's nothing wrong with that. Not everybody is cut out to be the person that brings more people over into our camp, right? We do have those people out there, and that's what they're good at, and they know how to deal with the people without taking it personally. And that's hard for a lot of us, because they'll go straight from telling you that your tool is evil over to an ad hominem attack, and all of a sudden we started off talking about how anybody should be able to own whatever tool they want to, and then it instantly moves into you're a baby murderer. If you think that people should be able to have baby murdering tools, then you're a baby murderer too. And all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, how did I get painted this way when I'm just talking about people in general should own in general whatever tool they want to in general, right? So again, you've got to be able to navigate that conversation. And if that's if that's the end of the pool where you're in there, you're over your head, you can't tread water in that deep of water in that conversation, know your limits, choose your battles, right? Know that you are better. Your skills are better put to use in a different part of the fight. And that's kind of what it comes down to. I'm not saying that if you're not good at having these conversations to just give it up by any means. Figure out what you are good at and go do that, right? But we've got to get this conversation started, and there's an art form to doing it online. There's an art form to doing it in person. right? There's an art form even to wording an email correctly when you go and try to email a legislator, or city council member, whoever it is. There's an art form to knowing how to phrase things, and again, not talk at them, but try to speak to them, right? So,
John, I was going to say, I think the venue too is something that you need to be very careful about if you're going to try to make a point, or, if you're going into some place where you might represent the minority opinion, especially about being pro 2A. I'm not saying for like personal safety or anything like that, but I'm just saying it might be a situation where it's just, it's just going to turn into a screaming match essentially, because they're, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of some, but I mean, nothing against like having like a nice debate against somebody, or going to present somewhere and making a point, or debating with somebody. But, you really got to kind of watch how you do things and how you carry yourself,
I'm down with that any day of the week. I'll have a debate, anytime, any place. That's me. That's how I'm wired.
Yeah.
But a debate is a whole different animal than a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I think sometimes people lose sight of that too. A debate has rules, right? A debate's like a boxing match. A verbal boxing match is exactly what a debate is, where there are established rules and both sides come out of their corners understanding that there are rules, right? And that, some shots are going to be taken at you, and you're going to take some shots, and that's the way it's going to be. Figuratively speaking, YouTube and Facebook, no actual shots, no lead, and no alcohol either. I don't know, the debate where you're doing shots, that'd be kind of a fun. You could televise that thing, put it on pay-per-view.
God.
But to be honest, I mean, that's just it. If somebody wants to debate, that's fine. I can debate somebody, and then when the debate's over, we can still be friends, right? I'll debate a friend, and we may be vehemently opposed to a specific topic, but that doesn't mean you're not my friend. But just during the debate, right? Debates have rules, but also, I mean, you have to. It's like sparring. You have to understand that you're going to get tagged in the nose at some point when you spar with somebody, probably, especially if you're equal skill. You're going to get punched. You're going to punch back. It's not a prize fight. It's sparring, right? But at the same time, your feelers might get hurt a little bit. But when the debate's over, it's done. Go back to being friends. Have a conversation. It's a whole different thing. Because you're not debating, you're not actually taking shots at people. And if they want to, you need to understand too that maybe it's time just to let the conversation go. Maybe just end that a little bit. I've had this one up on the screen for a while. Clover says we need hardline people who cannot communicate with the other side to keep our side in line. Nothing wrong with being unable to do the outreach part. We all have our place in the fight. Look at all the right wing and in quotations, right wing hardline people who scream and shout. Yet we have 2A rhinos. How many rhinos would there be without those super shall not be infringed fact quoting folks, right? So without the people who refuse to budge, who refuse to back up, and who refuse to look at the world through the other side's lens, then we may be overrun with rhinos. And why would we even need Republicans if that was the case? Just let them be what they are, and just switch over their party, I suppose. Okay, that book was by Shannon Watts. Let's see here. What else? What have I missed? I've been trying to keep up with the comments here. People are saying hi. We got Chris from the 740 out there, and Gary's in the house. Patriot. I had never thought about this. Clover's got some good stuff out there. Not a dig on the folks who can't talk with the other side, but if nothing else, those make those of us who can look more reasonable. So in a way, they make it easier for us to communicate. So correct me if I'm wrong, Clover, but if I'm understanding you, basically what you're saying is they're playing the bad cop so that we look like the good cop. I think is that's what I'm picking up on. That is that they can be the one that everybody loves to hate, so that we can come in and be the voice of reason, and be the good cop that smooths everything over, and get the suspect to actually give that confession, right? And if that's not correct, Clover, set me straight there, but I think that's what you're kind of saying. Patriot is 100% right. The more you talk, the more you learn, the better you get at discussing. So that's true as well. But again, remember who you're talking to, though, and remember what the point is. If the point is if the point is to talk, then that may be true. If the point is to communicate, if the point is to try and get that person who's, here's the thing, those people, some of those people, they, like Travis said earlier, they had to jump through some hoops to get their guns, right? I mean, they weren't aware that it was as tough as it was, and they had to sit through waiting periods and background checks that they were told that weren't actually the case, and they found out, well, yeah, I do have to go through a background check, and I do have to go through a dealer, and I can't just order this thing off the internet and have it shipped to my house, and yeah, I have to wait 7 days, 10 days, whatever it is in a given state, before I can go back and take the thing home that I already paid for. And so they're learning that, hey, this kind of sucks, and it's really inconvenient. And then they'll turn around and still vote for the anti-gun politicians who put those stupid regulations in place that make it to where you can't get a gun to defend yourself until possibly it's too late, right? So they don't change their voting patterns. They've 100% bought into the fact. It's weird that, yes, I need to, something's going on with my internet here. Yes, I need to have a gun to defend myself because the police can't be there for me all the time. And then on the other side, it's, well, I need to vote for these politicians who want to put common sense gun laws into place so that we can make the world a safer place. And we see that as polar opposites. They don't. So we got to keep that in mind as we're having these conversations. Are we trying to convince them that they are polar opposites? Do we want them to take that red pill and see the world as it is? Or do they want to be blissfully ignorant, stuck in the matrix, whatever it is, if that movie keeps coming up tonight? And they don't want to wake up from the dream, right? So you've kind of got to feel people out a little bit and see what's going on, because again, yeah, knowledge is the key that unlocks all of this stuff, right? But some people don't want the knowledge, and some people won't trust it when it comes from you, even though it's true, and you might have facts to back it up, and you can prove your theory, and still they don't care. So that's a thing that can happen out there because it's coming from you. And so we just have to understand that. I know I'm kind of going off a little bit off the rails here, but when I'm having a conversation with somebody, I try to feel them out, because there are a ton of people out there. And I know, again, this is maybe a little too general, but typically the anti-gun left, the pro-gun right thinks that the anti-gun left is wrong. We think that their worldview is wrong. We think that they're mistaken. We think that that if they got what they wanted, they wouldn't be any safer, right? So we think they're wrong. The anti-gun left thinks that we are evil. We think they're wrong. They think we're evil. Huge difference. They're battling evil. We're battling a mistake, a skewed, a flawed belief system. They're battling evil. So they can justify whatever they want to in the sense that they're battling evil. Therefore, the end justifies the means, right? So whatever they have to do to us, whatever they have to say to us, however many of us have to die, whatever sacrifices need to be made in order to take all the evil guns away and get all the evil 2A people out of here, they're some of those people are willing to do whatever it takes. Let's see, what else am I missing out here in the comments? Blitz, good comment there. Find common ground, work from there. Most people aren't full on crazy. You're right. Most of them are not. You can typically agree to disagree, but then also help show gun owners aren't murderous, disconnected psychos. So yes, 100%. And sometimes it's just that example. Sometimes you don't have to engage the conversation. You can preach by example. They say lead by example, but you can preach by example too, which speaks way louder than any words that we might say. We all hear that all the time. Actions speak louder than words, right? I mean, we can say we're about one thing, but then we keep doing the other. Well, it doesn't leave a lot of doubt as to what we're actually about, no matter what we said, because the actions are actually what back up what's true, right? So sometimes just being that unwavering 2A person without all the words is a better argument than anything you could ever say. So that's 100% spot on there. Yeah, we got some good stuff out there. Let's see. Patriot. Okay, Patriot says, so if you're not good, you're saying to walk away? That seems silly. You'll never learn to get good if you just walk away. That one conversation isn't the end. Yeah, but that you might not be the person that's ever going to get good. Okay, so keep in mind that, again, choose your battles. If this is, if you're the person that's going to shape what gun owners are, who gun owners are in the mind of somebody, it might be their first conversation ever with a firearm owner, and it's going to be a swing, a sink or swim kind of a deal here, and you're not the one that you can't guarantee you swim. Don't have the conversation. Don't be the one to shape their mind as to who gun owners are. I'm 100% saying that not everybody is good at the same thing, and not everybody can have the conversation. Yes, walk away. Find what else you're good at. Not everybody has to get good at this conversation, because not everybody will. That's what I'm saying tonight. So figure out if that's you. And if you aren't good at it, but you want to be, then again, do some practice, but don't just jump into it and make things worse instead of better by muddying up the waters, or having the wrong conversation, or the right conversation at the wrong time, or the right conversation with the wrong person, because those things can happen. And I am 100% saying that if you're not one of those super gifted individuals who can't sit down and have an honest discussion with somebody who thinks you're evil, then yes, walk away. Because those are and there are few of them. Those are the people that we need to do that. Okay. That's like saying, well, I've got my medical degree, I'm an MD, right? I can set bones, and I can, cure flus and all that kind of stuff. If somebody's got a heart murmur, I can prescribe things and help them get back on track. But well, I'm not real good at neurosurgery. I'm not real good at brain surgery. So that doesn't mean stop being a doctor. That means you don't have a steady enough hand to be the surgeon, a brain surgeon. That doesn't mean you're not a good doctor. That means you're not a good brain surgeon. Okay, so I'm not saying you're not a good 2A person. I'm just saying if you're not good at having that conversation, yeah, stay in the fight. Go do other things. Why do you think there are so many different jobs in the military? Not everybody gets to be infantry, right? Not everybody should be infantry. We got to have support personnel too. And that's kind of what I'm talking about here, is figure out what you're good at and then go develop that. And if you want to get better at the conversation, do so, but understand your limitations, pick your battles, and try to hone those skills in a less, how do I say it, smaller consequence environment. We may not find a consequence-free environment to train, but at the very least, start those conversations small. Don't go over and immediately sit down with the the anti-gun person who you don't have any business talking to them yet. That's what I'm saying. Don't start with the boss level fight. Work your way up to it. So if you get in with a boss level guy and you're not qualified, you're not prepared, walk away. Okay. If I thought I was a prize fighter, I've sparred a little bit. I'm not in super great shape, great conditioning, and not a lot of experience in the ring. Not getting in the ring with Tyson. Right? Not there yet. Walk away. Don't get in the ring with Tyson. That's what I'm trying to say.
That military analogy was terrible.
Okay, make it better.
Not everybody gets to be infantry. Probably the job that they give to anybody who will take it, or anybody who has a low score on their ASVAB. So that's like the exact opposite of what you were saying, of what you were implying. The other thing is they don't necessarily pick somebody because they're good for the job. Sometimes yes, at other times no. They're simply filling a quota. It's not. Sometimes it's like that affirmative action you were joking about at the beginning, right? There. So find a better analogy. That's all I'm saying.
Not the military thing, but still. Okay, a football team. Not everybody's good at calling plays and passing the ball, right? So if that's not you, fine. Figure out what you're good at. Are you a good kicker? Can you block? Can you tackle? We can still use you on the team. I'm not good at any of those things. Can you bring water to the guys in the huddle? Yeah, do that job. It's super important, right? The sideline trainers, super important to have those people just in case there's an injury. So figure out what you're good at and contribute to the cause, but not everybody gets to be the quarterback. Maybe I should say it that way. Would that be better?
I think that would relate to more people and probably not piss off the veterans.
Well, I'm not opposed to pissing people off, but I don't specifically want to intentionally poke the bear with the veterans. So we'll go with the football thing instead. Clover said he heard an interview with an I can't talk tonight to save my life. Anti-2A guy today said the gun control issue will be won or lost by changing society. And Clover's been saying for years that's true. I can't fault that logic. That actually, I do believe that is true. However, the changes in society that the antis want are 100% different than the changes in society that the pro-gun people want, right? I would say.
Something that Gunpowder Beauty had mentioned, she had read that book from the Moms Demand Action founder or whatnot. And then, Clover talking about listening to the interview with the anti-2A person. I think it also is a good idea to look at the viewpoint that's being expressed from the other side. I think it helps you make a better argument if you understand where they're coming from, not accept it at all. I'm just saying, look at their logic behind their argument, and that might make you more effective in the debates and in the discussions and discourse you might have with people. Occasionally, just because I'll put on Liberal Talk Radio just to see how they're presenting something, like what's their viewpoint on things. And then, obviously, most of the time I'm listening to conservative talk radio, but it is just kind of interesting where they're coming from. I don't agree with what they say at all. I'm just saying that, and then you hear those arguments coming up later on in discussions that you have with people, like I was thinking about this, kind of unrelated, but sort of is. I read an article today about the lawsuit that's being dropped on Daniel Defense. And, they're talking about their marketing and the $28 billion lawsuit that's being dropped on them. And, they had mentioned that the firearms have been featured in video games for kids and stuff, and how accessible they try to make the guns. And they have a payment plan on the firearms and stuff. And it's like, well, there's almost every gun store online offers some kind of a payment plan, So, you see where they're trying to come from on that, so you can argue back with them. I think it's important to know your enemy if you want to engage in them with battle. So, I don't be afraid to take some time to just listen. Don't accept it, but listen to what they have to say. Obviously, we don't want anybody to flip, but I think it's a good idea to educate yourself on the opposition. I really do. That way you'll know where they're coming from, so you can point out their flaws or why
Oh
they're
yeah,
wrong.
100% good idea to know where they're coming from. Again, that's where I think our side excels at knowing where the other side is
Mhm.
coming from. Right? We get it. We know where they're coming from. We understand why they have the feelings they have. Right? But I think a lot of people on our side fall short of not knowing what to do with that because we can't fight feelings with facts all the time. Okay. Overall, in a just world, yeah, you overcome feelings with facts, right? I'm afraid of the dark. I'm afraid there's a monster under my bed. I'm afraid there's a monster in the closet that's going to eat me. Well, the fact is, there's not a monster under your bed. There's not a monster in your closet, right? And if you can show the child who's afraid of the closet or afraid of the dark or whatever that there's nothing to be afraid of, then eventually, yeah, they can overcome that fear. But while that, at the beginning of that, it's a very real fear. And you can tell them all night, there's no monster in the closet, but it doesn't matter. They're scared. Their feelings at that point overcome the facts because they don't, I don't know if I should say they don't believe, but they don't trust in the facts enough yet, right? Because they don't have the experience that the facts will support. So all they have is the experience of their feelings, which is fear. And if you think of the anti-gun people, and I know this is again general, but think of them as that child afraid of the dark, where there's a boogeyman. Well, who's the boogeyman? It's you and me. It's the guns. It's the gun makers. Somebody's the boogeyman. Somebody's trying to kill them. Somebody's trying to shoot up all these people. So who is it? Well, ultimately, the fact is, it is not the 100+ million gun owners in the United States, right? It's the very, very, very tiny minority of people who typically get their guns illegally, or they do buy them legally, but then they become a criminal because they misuse them and they use their gun to commit a crime, right? So that's the truth. Those are the facts, but the feelings don't matter. The people who are afraid, it doesn't matter to them. They don't. It's an irrational fear, but it's still a very real fear. To them, it's real. We don't have to believe that it's real, but we have to believe that they believe it. So that's kind of where that one comes from. Um, or you can do it Gunpowder's way. Her kids were afraid of the dark and monsters. She got them guns. Now they can handle their own fears. So if the monster does come, then monster's going to get shot. And if that doesn't work, call mom in. She'll throat punch it. Monster should have probably picked a different closet door. But just looking over some of these other comments here. So
It's a good thing she got the toy guns when she did, because that'll be the next thing they want to ban, as I've been hearing on the news and stuff. So
yeah, get them while you can, right? So yeah, I think Patriot, looking at your comments, you kind of looks like you totally caught what we were trying to lay down there. M. Gabriel out there says gun ownership is a key to changing attitudes. You're not wrong, but at the same time, that's partly why we're having this conversation tonight, is because there's people out there who that's 100% not true in their case. So M. Gabriel, you're not wrong, but you're not 100% right, because those are the people I'm talking about. Those are the people who, yeah, they bought the gun, but they're okay with them having it. They still don't think you should have it because they know they're not evil and you are, because you're the one that's okay with the children getting murdered, right? So therefore you're evil, therefore you're a monster. So they're justified in having their gun, but you're still not. And that's where I was talking about the people who 100% believe that they need a gun to protect themselves, and society would be better if we could just get rid of all the guns, then everybody would be safe. We know that they're wrong on that count, but in their mind both things are true. And there are people who both things are true, even though a logical mind would say both things can't be true, right? Um so yeah, that's kind of where we're coming from there. Um All right. I don't know if I can milk a whole lot more out of the topic, but I want to say hi to Defense Dad, who is fashionably late. As the fully semi-official co-host, you can just kind of come and go as you please anyway, so it works.
Yeah, sorry, man. I stuck at work late. Busy season.
I get it. It's all good.
Actually, I've been listening to the show for as much as I can for the last 45 minutes. So.
Okay, well, you've got most of the meat and potatoes, so I'll give you a chance just to speak freely. You've heard most of it. Anything you want to weigh in on?
Well, a couple points. So, like, yeah, if you're trying to have a conversation with someone who's vehemently against guns, like, if you're on your end and you're militant, you're just, cold dead hands, that kind of stuff, and you're butting heads up against someone who's on the militant end where those two people aren't going to have a genuine conversation. In those situations, you just kind of have to walk away because you're not going to accomplish anything. Now, if you have two people that are halfway sane, and this might make more sense to you because you and I are both in sales. Like, approach this situation where you have a upset customer walk in the store, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're just listening until you find the next gap in conversation that's time for you to talk, you're just going to butt heads. You're not going to. It's called active listening. Nothing's going to get accomplished. However, whether you want to or not, if you listen to that person and you can kind of say, "Oh, I hear what you're saying. This is what you're feeling." Plenty of people in the past have felt that way. What I found, if you can have that conversation, you're not always going to turn everybody, but unless you're willing to at least hear what someone's saying, you don't have a chance in hell of changing their mind. And some people, you're not going to change their mind, but some people, they speak out of ignorance. And if you can educate them, they're not immediately going to come around to our side, but they might think, oh, well, I didn't know that. News said this. And
the more I sit here and think, the more I wonder if I should clarify a little more too on my original position. Because I'm also not saying that, and I think I made it sound like what I think is that 1% of the pro 2A camp should be in these conversations. And the rest of you, whatever, shouldn't even bother. And if I made anybody think that I think that, then I apologize for not being clear. But the more I think about it, the way the conversation's gone, I don't know I was 100% clear on what I think. I think that there are people out there who just flat out don't have any place in the conversation. They shouldn't be talking. And you know who they are. You've been around them, right? You know people who flat out shouldn't be driving a car. Right? They're not safe. They are not the people who you don't want to get in the car with them. They shouldn't have keys to a car. The state shouldn't give them a driver's license. Whether or not the state did, different story altogether. But those people who just flat out shouldn't, whatever, fill in the blank. They just flat out shouldn't, whatever's in that blank. They're out there. There are people who flat out can't have the conversation. Don't know how to articulate. Don't know how to do the active listening, don't know how to express their beliefs. All they know is shall not be infringed. All they know is cold dead hands. So those are the people who I'm saying that shouldn't have the conversations at all. But at the same time, there's a special breed of cat out there who's a gun owner who still doesn't believe you should own guns. And there's a lot more people in the 2A camp who shouldn't be engaging that person. Not the public in general. The coffee shop table is the great spot to have these conversations, right? They're kind of a round table anyway when it comes to discussions. But those certain people who flat out are anti-gun, but they own guns, but they're still anti-gun, that's a special breed of, I'm going to say special breed of stupid on their side, right? Even though those people, that doesn't mean that they're stupid. It's a special kind of stupid. But they can be highly intelligent people that fail to see the duality there. They don't think they're a contradiction the way that they are. That takes a special kind of cat to engage them. And we only want the best of the best talking to that person, because that conversation can go south on you real quick if you're not equipped. And that's what I'm trying to get out here, is that there are certain people on the other side that almost nobody should engage. And there are certain people on this side that shouldn't engage anybody. But they're both the minority, right? I'm not talking about everyday normal teachable moment where you just, had a conversation about, I own guns not because I want to force my will on somebody else, but because I refuse somebody else to force their will on me. Okay, cool. Maybe they never thought about it that way before. Okay, well, cool. Then you're not one of those crazies. Conversation's over. Have a great day. I'm going to leave the grocery store aisle now. Whatever. But that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about those people who, again, if you know that you shouldn't be in this conversation, don't try it. That's not the time. That's not the place to find out that, yeah, I was right. I just made things worse. Now I got a person who thinks that we're all crazy gun nuts, because I completely stepped in over my head. So you got to know your limitations. You got to know if you're the person that can engage it or not. That's all I'm saying. But there are people who I don't want talking to anti-gunners. Now, yes, I'm gatekeeping. I don't honestly get to tell you not to, but my opinion is some of you out there, I don't think you ought to be having the conversation. Most of you out there, I wish you'd have more conversations. But there's a few of you, and I don't know who you are necessarily. I don't have anybody in mind off the top of my head that I know personally, but I know they're out there, and you might know them.
Well, damn it, Cat. This is about as simple as I can put it. Know your strengths. And goes back to some of the examples you said, but like, if you're not so much with the words in person, but you can, on paper, you write excellently, you're the person who can write letters. If you're the person who can't keep your emotions in check just because it becomes an argument, maybe you're not the person to speak to the people that are touchy-feely, need a safe space. But you are absolutely probably the person to head a campaign of writing to your congressman, writing to your representatives. Know your strengths, know your weaknesses, and approach it that way. Like, so you talked earlier about in the hospital. So my mom was a nurse, and I know this is a stereotype. A lot of doctors, they're very, very educated people. They're very good at what they do, but their people skills suck. So then they can deliver the news, but then it's up to the nurse, who does a lot of hard work, who can apologize for the doctor and explain this is what he meant and this is what we need to do. Control. Right. So if you're a surgeon and you can't speak to people without being callous and unemotional and just without taking their feelings, you probably shouldn't be the one talking to your patient. Sometimes the nurse should. So, and that's the same thing in this. If you can't speak somewhat eloquently, or at least hear someone else's conversation before you speak, yeah, there's certain people you shouldn't be talking to. Doesn't mean you shouldn't be talking to your friends and families or coworkers, but you're definitely not the person to go on a live stream and butt heads with a complete militant anti-gunner.
Oh yeah,
unless you just want ratings.
Well, I mean, okay, fine. At this point, I would love to get some more ratings. So whatever I got, not whatever I got. I'm not a ratings whore. I'm not a ratings prostitute.
Everybody likes cats. Here's a cat. More ratings.
Crazy cat video.
He won't leave me alone, so I might as well give him a photo bomb.
My puppy gave up. She's a rug right now, so you can't. I don't know if you guys can see her, just a little bit in the corner there. So yeah, she's kind of a rug. So all right, Squib or Pat or Travis, do you guys have anything else you want to throw out? Because I think we're just gonna kind of wrap it up and maybe not spend as long as normal. I know that Sandhill Sweetheart likes it when we stay for 2.5 hours in here, but
all right, go for it, Squib.
Let's see. Did anybody really throw anything out, or was it just another show like it always is?
Well, I can throw something out.
Go for it.
Okay, so you were talking about the people with people skills, and I've been thinking about this for a little bit since this show started. We're leaving out some people that haven't been talked about yet. And now, whether this will work or not, but it has in the past, because there's been people like this that have been on shows that are out there that are now 2A advocates. And I'm about ready to drop a 1,000-pound JDAM right into this thing. You threw a grenade. I'm about ready to throw a JDAM in this thing. Find a liberal or a leftist that isn't too far gone, that's had their rear end kicked by somebody and wished they had some means of defense, or that was held at gunpoint or something, and everybody, and John knows who I'm talking about and stuff, because there are people out there that are on the 2A side now, and have them kind of be kind of a mediator or a go-between. It seems like those people, at least in some of the stuff that I've watched or listened to, and you can agree or disagree with me at any point on this, but it seems like since they've been on that side and came over to the pro-gun side and are now concealed carry, or at least the very minimal home defense with their family and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Those people, I think, can probably reach more people than like any of us on this panel, because we've always been, except for, Defense Dad's always been around guns and everything, but he's, relatively new into, what everything's been going down here. And he knows from the fights and struggles and everything from his family, and, on some people you just can't reach. Honestly, I think those are the people that need to be talking to more of the people that are just not too far gone as far as being able to listen to a conversation versus this panel. And you can disagree with me or agree with me, but honestly, I think those are probably some of the best people to talk.
Well, I definitely agree that, yeah, the more people we can find who have firsthand experience and can tell their story, and with the logical process of, I used to think this, now I think this because this happened to me, and I have real world experience that said that what I used to think is wrong. Yeah, those stories are awesome. I think about Robin Sandoval, who is executive director for A Girl and a Gun.
Exactly.
She used to be the mom in the red t-shirt. She would
Yep.
go to anti-gun rallies. And then one day, they saw what happened in Katrina, in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina. And she decided, well, the safest thing to do is just, hunker down and stock up on peanut butter and tuna, and be able to, sit through any kind of a disaster like that. And her husband said, what's your plan when people find out that we have peanut butter and tuna? How are you going to keep it? And she said, I don't know. And then she realized that it's a great plan, but without a defensive strategy, it's no plan at all. That's when she decided that she should at least cave and let him have a firearm in the house. Fast forward several years, now she teaches people to shoot firearms, right? But she'll tell you her story. She'll tell you about the way that she used to think and then what caused her to change her mind. And I love hearing stories like that from people. So you're 100% right. But also keep in mind that it's going to fall on deaf ears for a lot of those folks. I'm not saying it's not worth the effort, but I'm saying be prepared that not everybody's going to just roll over and say, oh, you're right. now I'm gonna be a gun owner too, and I'm gonna just walk away from everything I used to believe. It's not that simple, because some of those folks are gonna see the person who changed their mind as a traitor, and instantly dismiss them. And I don't care what you have to say, you're dead to me now, because you've joined. You were supposed to destroy the Sith, not join them, and that's what they see. Right. So
right. Exactly.
there's gonna be both. There's gonna be people that are like, that's, you make a very compelling argument. I can see where you're coming from. I still don't agree with you. There's gonna be people that say, now you're just one of them, so screw you, you're evil too. And then there's gonna be the people that are like, I never thought about it that way. Now I need to make a few changes in my life and rethink my belief system a little bit too. So all three of those people are gonna, you reach enough ears, you're going to have all three of those reactions. But at the same time, we need to make sure that we don't just get caught up in, just trotting people out for a dog and pony show, and only having the people who, well, the only reason we care about you is because you've got a story to tell. And I don't want it, I know that's not the case, but I don't ever want it to appear that way either. That, the only reason they're interested in you is because you're a turncoat. Otherwise they wouldn't care about you. Well, yes, we would, but can they convince that person of that? I don't know.
I think there's more people out there than that we don't know of that have changed their minds on stuff, but just they're kind of like some of us, where they're closet gun owners or something like that, and I think those are the people that we need to elevate a little bit more, and to come out and have their stories told and stuff. I think that's kind of a little bit of a underutilized. Now I know it's hard for some of those people to come out, and just depending on whatever circles they run in, and everything. But it's just wishful thinking. But I wish more of those people that have changed their minds on that stuff and used to think that way, I wish they would come out and tell more of their stories and stuff. But I think it's kind of an underutilized part as far as that, because most of the people aren't going to listen to guys like us.
Yeah, but at the same time, you got to remember that a lot of those folks live in areas where they don't want to be outed as a gun owner. That's worse than
exactly.
That's one of the worst things you can be outed as right now in some communities.
Well, I got to say this too. We're talking about people on our side that shouldn't talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a whole lot of people on that side, whether they're new gun owners or not, that it's just not worth talking to them, because to them, maybe they purchased a gun and they're the I'm pro A, but pro 2A, but those people, you're absolutely not going to change their mind unless you can also give them an argument that's going to change their mind on abortion, education, all that kind of stuff. Because a lot of those people, no matter what, they strictly vote party line.
Yeah, you're right.
So whether they've recently become pro 2A, they're still going to vote for the people that are against 2A, because everything else they believe in. So good point. I was kind of when I was talking earlier, I was just kind of going over what I'd heard and talking about that kind of stuff. But there's just some people. There's lots of people out there that you're just wasting your damn breath talking to, and you just got to realize that.
Well, and Clover's not wrong out there. I don't think in the chat either. And again, this isn't every time, but he's still not wrong. The problem with those folks coming to the fight, our side will try to destroy them because they're gay or they support abortion or welfare or whatever stupid thing that is not 2A related. And you're right. You're right to an extent, at least, Clover, that there are people who, we've talked about being the gatekeeper before. Are you willing to roll up your sleeves and get down in the trenches and fight and get muddy with somebody who doesn't believe what you believe when it comes to homosexuality, or doesn't believe what you believe when it comes to my body, my choice, right? Are you willing to fight the 2A fight? and forsake those other fights at the time being, or are you willing, not willing to fight with somebody who doesn't fall into lockstep with you all the time?
I think if you want to be effective, then you have to put all that stuff off to the side. I always tell you guys, dump the abortion crap. If you're going to talk abortion, talk abortion. Don't talk guns and then bring up abortion or God or some of the other hardcore right-wing conservative blah 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 stuff, because you're going to lose them if you're trying to have a conversation about the Second Amendment and what the Second Amendment is about. And sure, you can bring up technical things about firearms and ammunition, you can bring up history, you can bring up law, but at the end of the day, your conversation is about the Second Amendment. It isn't about getting them to come to church with you to fill the offering plate, because you're going to burn in hell if you don't bring 2 people next week. Okay, it ain't about that, but people lose sight of that. I stopped going to the rallies in Lansing, Michigan. I will not go to the rallies at the Capitol anymore. I might not even go to any more rallies in other parts of the state because of the Trump people. The first time I went up there and they had the Trump float, I go, okay, whatever. It's mostly conservative people here. Most of these people are going to vote Republican. It's not a big deal. When it got to the point where it started turning into political rallies, and I don't mean your people that were trying to get into government saying we will protect your rights. I'm talking about when it just Trump, and then you had the Trump mobs down there in Lansing that were actually behaving in a way that I do not support. I am not with those people. I might be a conservative. I might typically vote Republican, and I supported him because he was the best choice, unfortunately. But I'm not about turning a Second Amendment rally into a Trump rally, and that's what'll end up happening. Is you'll have somebody that'll bring in Republicans or Trump or God or abortion or something else, and there's no place for it there. You can, Clover's the one always talking about all these Democrats where he's at at the local level that are pro 2A. I don't believe it, but hey, whatever. I don't live there, okay? So I can understand why he says that in the same way that I can understand why somebody says, I'm not going to reach somebody who is hardcore left or hardcore Democrat or hardcore progressive, socialist, whatever. And, you're trying to talk to them about one thing. And the other thing too is you're talking about convincing somebody. This is where we differ big time. I'm not trying to convince anybody. You're going to make up that decision on your own. I'm simply answering questions, sharing my knowledge, my opinion, my experience, sharing the truth, not necessarily my opinion being the truth so much as when you say something that is inaccurate and I explain why, or when you I can tell you got this from a movie or the news or something like that, and I can calmly, rationally, intelligently explain why. Now, what you do with that is what you do with that. I cannot stand the people on our side who constantly pound the table and go, we need to convert them. We're no better than them if we want to convert them. You might as well grab them, put their arm behind their back and say, vote 2A or else, slam them up against the wall and be, do it or else.
Right.
I'm not desperate like that, for one, and I'm also not a thug like that. Okay, people need to come to that conclusion on their own if you truly have a free society. If you're trying to coerce them, if you're trying to threaten them, menace them, if you're trying to, I suppose if they were doing something evil or unlawful, if you want to shame somebody who committed a crime or did something immoral, I get that. Not voting Second Amendment is not something immoral. That's a choice. That's an opinion. Okay. Maybe cheating on your spouse is immoral. So if the whole family wants to shun somebody because they did that instead of support them, okay, great. There's where shame is. But putting shame in the fact that we have a difference of opinion on how to vote, not so much. And this is coming from me because I fit, I think, your description of the person that shouldn't have that conversation. And your opinion of that isn't going to change what I've always done and what I will continue to do and how I do it.
I wouldn't like it if it did. But it is still my opinion that there are people out there who shouldn't be part of the conversation. But you also know when and where to have a conversation and when not to as well. And that's a lot of it too. Is again going back to just knowing when to pick your battles, right? And knowing when to not engage. But we all have to do that to an extent, no matter what the case is. Sometimes we can't have the conversations at work that we want to have because it'll jeopardize our position at work, a lot of stuff like that. So, picking your battles, we could open that up to a whole bunch of different situations. But again, what I'm talking about tonight is just there are people who shouldn't have the conversation, and there are people, you're right, that you shouldn't have the conversation with. And you gotta, that's part of the journey, is learning how to figure out who's who, right? Including yourself. Where do I fit in? What end of this spectrum is? It's a spectrum. It's not, you're good or you're not good. It's how good are you, right? So just figure out where you are on that spectrum, and if you want to move yourself towards the end of being better, then move yourself towards the end of being better. There's lots of different ways to do that too, but yeah, I mean, I 100% agree that, if we're going to win this fight, then we have to be willing to roll up our sleeves and get muddy with people who we're not going to go have a beer with on a typical Friday night, right? I mean, you're going to have to how do I say this? You're going to have to get comfortable fighting next to people that make you uncomfortable sometimes. But if we all agree that our rights as firearm owners trump all this other crap, then good. Let's focus on that and not lose sight of the goal. And that's where the other side, I think that they know that they can get us off track pretty easy and get us fighting against each other. And there's, again, we've talked about this before. There's so many people out there that want to gatekeep and say, well, I'm okay with, these people having guns, but I'm not okay with those people having guns. Well, if there's such a thing as those people and you don't want them to have guns, then I don't think you're pro 2A. Simple as that. I don't care who those people are. Even if they're liberals and Democrats, I think that they ought to have guns too.
But then, by your own logic, you're saying that people that are pro 2A shouldn't have that conversation? Isn't that the same logic, though? I understand they're not good ambassadors. Don't get me wrong. There's a big difference.
So, I mean, owning now, I wish that there's a lot of people that I believe should own guns that I understand are not going to be on the same side of this argument that I'm on. I wish they were. I wish they saw the world my way. But even Shannon Watts, I believe, has the right to own a gun, and she can say what she wants, but I'm going to do everything in my power to ensure her right to own a gun, because she's an American citizen too. She has that right, and I believe she deserves that right, and nobody ought to take that right away from her just because she speaks words that I don't like, and she wants to take away my rights to own such a thing, or infringe upon my rights rather. I will fight just as vehemently for Shannon Watts and Michael Bloomberg to own guns as for Squibb and Defense Dad and Travis and Pat to own guns. It's all the same fight to me, because it's all or none in that respect. So, but we've got to make sure that people, on our side, don't lose sight of that. Don't think of us and them. It's we're all us, right? We're fighting for the good of all of us.
Well, I think you got to be clear what conversation you're having. So
That's true.
Back to what I was saying earlier, there's a big difference in trying to educate people about 2A and how it's not evil. But way earlier in the show, you mentioned talking to these people and trying to get them to not vote for the person who's constantly voting against 2A. Those are two separate conversations, because
100%, you're right, they are.
Yeah.
And that's where, again, there are people who shouldn't engage that person and try to convince them to reevaluate their political beliefs, because they might one day reevaluate, but they're not going to. They're dyed in the wool Democrat voters, vote down the down ballot party lines, find the D and check that box and what have you, and they don't understand how detrimental that becomes to their right, your right, and my right to keep the property that we own and buy more of that property that we want to buy. And you're right, it's a whole different conversation. We've kind of thrown them all together and muddled them up a little bit tonight. That's a different conversation than just, why should I own a gun? Why should I own that gun? Why should anybody have that one? These are all different conversations to have, and you're right. But you guys know how easily sidetracked I get. So that's why the episodes kind of jump around a little bit. But you're right. The dyed in the wool people, the new gun owner who is going to continue to vote for the politicians who continue to try to take them away, they're out there and they don't get it. But there are certain people that shouldn't be the ones to try and make that light bulb come on. Because they're not going to do it, because they don't have the right tools in their belt to get that light bulb to come on in those people's minds. And some of those people out there that are in that boat that bought a gun and still vote, pro anti-gun Democrat all the time, pro anti-gun, vote for the anti-gun Democrat candidates all the time. I don't care who it is. Nobody's got the tools necessary to get that light bulb to come on. Some of them are never going to see it any other way. Okay. That goes again back to choosing your battles. Once you figure out it's that person, just break off and walk away from it, because it doesn't matter who it is. I don't care how good you are. It's just not going to happen. So, but yeah, it comes down to, you know what, Clover, our whole existence as pro 2A advocates comes down to this right here. There's personally a ton of people that we think shouldn't own a gun, but in the end, they have the right to do it, and we don't believe in taking away their right. The other side of this equation doesn't think that, anybody should own them, and they'll do everything in their power to make sure nobody does, because they think that they're the freedom gatekeepers, and that's where we fundamentally disagree. Because we don't think that anybody should gatekeep the Second Amendment. And they think that there's people that should gatekeep freedom, because if you losing your freedom makes me feel safer, that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. But they don't want to give up any of their own freedoms. They're just willing to take them from you. And again, some people will just never get through to. Some people should never try to be the one to get through. And ultimately, that's what I'm talking about tonight. So anyway, I was going to wrap this up a half hour ago. I think we're going to go ahead and do that. I'll give everybody, of course, if there's anything you still want to get out there, go ahead and mention it. And we'll just kind of give everybody your closing thoughts. And of course, shameless plugs and all that good stuff. So Squib will give you a chance here to sound off.
I don't think that anybody should expect to change somebody's mind or convert somebody or get them on your side or change the way they vote or whatever the heck it is that you're trying to do. I think when you were talking about picking and choosing the time and place, I think that is something that's a little bit more practical to achieve than really any of the other stuff. But I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to do you, I'm going to do me, and we're all going to be effective or not be effective. There's some people that, yeah, no matter what you say, all they want to do is fight with you. I have family members like that try to just start an argument with me. They don't want to listen. They don't want me to listen to them. They just want to argue. And that's just the way it is. After a while, if you're new to this, if you haven't been doing this very long, or you're like, what do I do? Or all the other questions I hear people ask all the time. It's like, geez, how do you get through life? You'll figure it out over time. You're going to make some mistakes. You're going to learn from them. You get ideas from other people. Maybe some of those you can integrate in your life. Maybe you can't. Just like anything else in life, right? It's like, you figure it out. You just do, or I guess you don't. But some people feel very compelled to grab everybody they see and witness to them about the Second Amendment, and some people don't. And I think that if you reap the reward but you don't put in the work, you're really not part of the culture. I can understand why you might be more reserved about it, or you might pick and choose a lot more strictly than the rest of us. But I'm not a big fan of Cheeto Man sitting on the couch, eating his bag of Cheetos, stroking his Mosin Nagant while we're out there doing the work. Even if we don't agree on how the work should get done, we're out there doing the work. Mm-hmm. So there are ways everybody can contribute. If having a conversation is just too difficult for you, you're a soft person and you can't handle that sort of thing or whatever, or you won't learn to handle it, I really should say, there are other things, and you brought that up earlier in the show, and I'm glad that you did bring that up. Everybody can contribute in whatever way that they feel is best. So don't just give up because you think that you can't do something. There's always something you can do.
And I don't know that it's necessarily just the soft people that are afraid of a conversation. There, some of the people I'm talking about that shouldn't engage are the ones that, because they're not soft enough and they can't have a conversation, all they can do is preach at people. I guess maybe I should have said that earlier.
I
too.
mean, yeah, I see what you're saying there, and that's where I fit in.
All you know how to do is preach at people, then you're not in a conversation. We need conversationalists to do this.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing. When you come off really soft and really weak too, the other side's just listening to you, just going, this guy he doesn't. There's a happy medium. I think if you're too soft, if you're Nebraska nice, you're not going to get anywhere, okay? But if you're New York mean, you're not going to get anywhere either. So you got to be kind of, somewhere in Ohio, I guess, maybe.
So Michigan troll or?
No. There are times where I can be very calm. I was going back and forth with one this week in the comment section on somebody else's video, and I was calm. Typically, I'm not. I've actually had to have Sean Ponnery pull me off of somebody once. We were in one of these kind of things off air, and I was ready to tear the guy apart. And Sean Ponnery, I mean, if we were all in the room together, he physically would have got between me and him. That's how heated it got. Wow. So I am probably not that guy by your definition, but it's still not going to stop me. So I just think that I get what you're saying. I'm not discounting what you're saying, but I just think that there are some people out there that they're just too timid, or they're afraid of adversity or whatever. It's like, what are you going to do if somebody tries to take your life and you're going to pull that gun? If you can't have a discussion that might get heated, or you're afraid to get in an argument with somebody, I'm not saying purposely go, like I said, those ones that are pointless, why bother, right? But if you're too afraid to get in that argument, you're too afraid to take somebody's life to protect your kids. So really, why should you even care? Why are you even in this then? So.
Yep, exactly right. But either way, thank you for being here, and thank you for your perspective. Real quick, before I move over here to Travis, I just got to refute DJ out there. Omaha cool would work if Omaha were cool. But no offense to DJ personally, but everybody from Nebraska who's not from Omaha understands that Omaha kind of sucks. And it's arguably not. People are like, I've been to Nebraska, I've been to Omaha.
Now, come on, John, that's not Nebraska nice now.
You haven't been to Nebraska.
Be nice.
You've been to Omaha. It's different. That's like saying I know what Illinois is like because I've been to Chicago.
Barf.
Right. See, so it's kind of the same thing.
I do kind of like going.
Isn't Omaha just a suburb of Council Bluffs?
Oh, I hope not.
Sorry, Council Tucky. Is that what we call it?
Yeah, Council Tucky would be more accurate. I don't know. I kind of like parts of Omaha. Some parts.
I don't mind going to Omaha. I don't want to move there for sure. I mean, I've got family. I've got friends in Omaha. I know a lot of good people in Omaha. Omaha is full of great people. It's Omaha. It's a city. I live in Nebraska. We don't have those here except for Omaha. So
Omaha's a good place to visit. They have crumble cookie.
This is true. Crumble cookie is really
I want to see a video on this.
I already did. Go check my channel.
Wait. Was there a coffee with it?
Well, no, because it was like, just go watch the video.
I'll go watch the video.
It was the night before my friends moved from Texas. We went and got crumble cookies down in Dallas. So yeah.
Oh, wait. That was in Texas. That wasn't in Nebraska.
It's the same thing. It's the same
No,
store.
It doesn't count. No, it's not the same.
It's a franchise. It's a chain. It's the same thing.
Yeah. No, did they have Runza in Texas?
Well, when we take them there.
Texas wishes they had Runza.
Okay, then.
They got the Alamo.
They got Whataburger.
They got Whataburger. That's mic drop right there. So yeah.
Oh no, Runza's okay. Not a food chat, but any day of the week, I'll put this one down. Runza, hands down over Whataburger.
Not for a burger. No.
Hands
Have you
down.
been to Runza lately and got
Hands
a burger? They're tiny.
Best fast food. Second.
No, dude. You take a bite out of a spicy sweet. I will debate you on this, John. Spicy sweet bacon cheeseburger from Whataburger versus a Runza burger. No, dude. I'm sorry. Now Runza. Yeah, okay, they dominate.
Who the hell goes to a place called Runza and gets a burger? It's just wrong.
I'm talking about the burger.
That's like getting a salad at McDonald's.
They don't compare. No. The spicy sweet is amazing.
Quick, before we do the shameless plugs and Travis's channel, Gunpowder says, don't forget firearms need love too. Go to R&L Displays, show your firearms you really care with American-made firearms displays. Dude, that's I need to hire you to write my sponsor things here for me. That's pretty good right there. Sounds just like a commercial. So yeah, go do that. Now, anyway, so Travis, what else is on your channel? Closing thoughts. What's on your channel? Where can people
cookie
find
reviews, dog harnesses, whatever, expensive
that
Colt
new
revolvers.
harness looks pretty
You get
BA. I
everything.
might have to look into getting her one.
Dude, One Tigris is cool, man. Contact the company, man. They're
I've
good
never put
company.
the one on her that we do have,
Yeah.
so I don't know why. I want just because Charlie rocked it so well that I kind of want to get one.
He fit in this one much better than the last one, but no, we've got Caliber Corner on Saturday morning at 8 a.m. We're going to talk about AK pattern, 12 gauge shotguns, clones versus the real deal. Which one should you go for? Advantages, disadvantages. Otherwise, I'm just dropping a couple videos a week, and that's pretty much it. Just type in Travis P11, and you can find me everywhere. So there you go.
Cool. Thank you for being here. Defense Dad, closing thoughts. What's going on your channel lately, and where can people find it?
For the part of I got to be part of, it was a good show. I mean, I listened to most of it. I think it was a good conversation. As far as my channel, like I've been saying, I've been kind of on a hiatus this summer. My channel's changing though. Still gonna do gun related stuff, but it's gonna be a little different format that I'm used to. Because I'm kind of bored of doing. Oh, here's the gun. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. I'm trying to make it more interesting for me. Hopefully, y'all like it, but ultimately, I do this for me. Yep.
You got to have fun making them, or you won't make them.
Yeah, I just been getting bored with it. So,
no, that's cool. Go check it out. Go watch Defense Dad's channel evolve and see what it becomes. He's in that mutation stage right now, where he's in the chrysalis, but out pretty soon. Out the other side is going to come a beautiful butterfly.
I don't know about that, but it's gonna be more fun for me.
Good enough. That's all that matters. Make it more fun for you, because when you're having fun making videos, I guarantee people have more fun watching them than if they think that you're just grinding one out to grind one out. If it's boring you, it's boring everybody that watches it too, because I've seen those videos where guys aren't having any fun, and if you're not having fun, I don't want to watch your video. So y'all out there that make videos, have fun doing it. Figure out what you have fun doing, and make that video, because that's the one that I like to see. And I can't speak for the rest of YouTube, but everybody else might like it better too. So, and Pat had to pop out because his internet was giving him some fits. The bunker did not take a direct hit from his JDAM that he dropped. See, the thing is, he was going to drop that JDAM. The problem was he stubbed his toe and it fell out of his hand, and it went off inside the bunker, I think is what happened. Took out his internet. I don't know what else happened. So Pat had to leave us. He's fine. Bunker survived the blow, so it's all good. If you followed along in the chat, then you knew that. If you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, turn on that live chat. Go watch the live chat replay, and you can see everything that was going on out there in the chat. And if you watch on Facebook, you can do that too. The comments come through on the Facebook side. I think we had one, so that's pretty cool. The comment will come through. But anyway, thanks for being here. And no matter what happens, the conversation in here doesn't always go the way that I hope it will, or the way that I want it to. But the thing is, if we can spark you into having a conversation, then it was worth it. So go out there and have those conversations, or don't, if you know that's not you. But the thing is, just because you're not good at talking doesn't mean you're not good for the 2A movement. We still need you to be part of the movement. Talking might not be your thing. My bride doesn't want to talk on camera. She doesn't even want her own microphone. She doesn't want to partake in these conversations with us, but she loves to write. She's good at the typing and stuff. She can make sure that I'm not missing crucial comments and things like that. And that's why we divide and conquer, and both of us play to our strengths. I can run my mouth all the time, all day, all night. And you guys know that about me. So that's why I have a channel. So, check us out next week. I'm not sure what we're going to talk about yet. I'll figure it out between now and then. But next Thursday night, 8 o'clock Central Time, come on back and join us. And again, we'll have a conversation that hopefully leads to another conversation, which leads to another conversation, and we can get everybody talking. So I think that's about it. If you're in Northeast Nebraska, or like I said, you want to hire us to travel, we'll go about anywhere that we can legally travel with our stuff and our gear and our firearms to. Sandhillsdefense.com, or call or text 402-851-0726. Go find us on Facebook if you're If you're on Facebook, Sandhills Defense LLC, like us there. There's a group for people who are have been to the classes or are just interested in the classes. And here's another one. I can't put this up on the screen, but just because I completely dropped the ball and hadn't thought about it till now, and I didn't prepare. But there's a brand new group, women, ladies, not guys. There's a brand new group that Sandhill Sweetheart just made. And if right now it's for Nebraskans, there may be an expansion to the rest of the world, but Nebraska ladies who have firearms or are interested in firearms, or you're terrified, but you want to learn a little bit more about it, whatever is the case, there's a group that is called Beautiful Nebraska Badasses. And go check that out. No boys allowed. This is a group where if you are in your journey wherever you are, you can kind of contribute. Somebody that's just getting into concealed carry might want to post up a picture of themselves, you know, in whatever attire they like to wear, yoga pants or whatnot, and say, hey, this is how I dress. This is my body shape. You know, what ideas do you have? And it's a safe place to do that where they don't have to worry about creepers staring at them and things like that. So the conversations can be had in a safe place where you don't have to worry about getting mansplained or ogled, which is why I'm not part of the group. You guys are, and you have to be vetted as a Nebraska female. But eventually I'd like to see that spread out and go to more than just Nebraska. But for now, that's what it is. So Beautiful Nebraska Badasses, go check it out. You can find a link to it on my Facebook page because I linked to it. I just you know, it's a closed group. Anybody can't just get in there and see what's going on. So you do have to be vetted. Anyway, go check that out and help grow that community because females are the fastest growing demographic in the gun owning world. So there's more and more resources out there for the ladies. So go check those out, ladies. Fellas, if you want some advice, there's no shortage of us that will try to give you guys some advice too. Lots of concealed carry groups out there, but not as many of them that are in our area anyway, that you can talk to somebody halfway local devoted to the fairer gender. So again, go check it out. Thanks on behalf of Pat and Squib and Travis and Defense Dad, Sandhill Sweetheart, Liberty the puppy dog here, and myself. Thanks for joining us. Oh, we didn't do the list. See, that's why she's here. The list, real quick. Those of you making the comments on Facebook, we had Jeff out there. On YouTube, Kingpin, Blitz, DJ, Travis, Agorizer, Mike, Gunpowder Beauty, Keith Gregory, Patriot in the Dark. I saw that comment about the car, Patriot. I'm sorry if I offended you. I will ride with you anytime if we do it like Scent of a Woman, where I'll give you the commands and you brake or turn or whatever. We'll go joyriding. I don't care. But you got to supply the Ferrari is the only thing. So, because I don't have one. But we'll go. Clover's out there, M. Gabriel, Gizzard Gary, Chris from the 740, Tara Smith's Kitchen, Pat in a Bunker, and I don't know that there was anybody else. If we didn't say your name, it's because you didn't talk enough, so get those comments out there. I know I said Omaha's not cool, but dude, I know you don't comment. I know you're watching. I'm glad you're out there. Love you too. We'll see you guys next week, 8 o'clock Central Time, the only time zone that matters, and if anybody says otherwise, that's because they don't live here. All right. Have a great night, guys. We love you. God bless you. It's time for you to go. Get off my lawn.